This week on the Wannabeez, I got you. No Justin today. This is an all new pod that we're trying out, and it's going to be called The Enlightenmen. It's your boy Gula, and here with me, special guest, and my friend, Jay Parker.
Power positivity, baby.
Woo! And John Van Hook.
Yo, I get to say that because bitch-ass Justin Kyle isn't here. Ha, ha, ha. Take that.
No,
I'm
John.
saying yo
no,
today.
John.
No howdies are coming out of my mouth.
There's a lack of howdies today.
Yeah, no howdy, only yo.
That's funny. Well, John, would you want to explain what we're doing here?
Okay, so Justin Kyle's gone, and just because he's gone doesn't mean that we're not gonna pod. We gotta pull something out of our ass. So we've been cooking up a little something lately. We've been bouncing around, throwing ideas at the wall like spaghetti noodles, and seeing what sticks. And we kind of had this idea. Some of it came from our guest today, Jeff Parker. Some of it came from Nick Gula, and some of it even came from Sam Gula, the lovely wife of Nick Gula, who was the genius behind the title Enlightenmen, which is the podcast we're doing today. So what we're gonna do is like a philosophy, stoicism kind of themed pod, and cue us in with some music. All right, gents. we just had
the most epic music intro that we don't have when we can't hear because we haven't done it yet.
Hardcore.
Stood there silent for a second. Okay, so I do have a theme for today's episode, or a topic, if you will. But before that, I have a little bit of an icebreaker. So, and this icebreaker, it's not exactly like a philosophical question, but it's a little bit of a thinker, and it's something that I was thinking about earlier when I was driving along in the car. And so here it is. You guys ready?
Yep.
We're ready.
All right. So I believe I've heard this question asked before on a certain podcast, but I can't exactly put a finger on it. But so the question is, what is something non-sexual that a person can do around you that makes that person more attractive in your eyes? What is something that just like totally has nothing to do with sexuality at all, but you're just like, that's getting me going. All right. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you get that. I think it's people's demeanor. I think it's when somebody is in the room or with the group, having a conversation, and they just, Gula says this all the time, right? They're setting that vibe. I think they come in, they have a presence. It's not a dominating force, but it's really something that when they're in the room with you, they're engaging in conversation or they're engaging others. And I think they're kind of raising the vibration of the overall group.
That's a really good answer, but that didn't, so I guess the vibe, you just think the overall vibe? That's not like a thing.
The vibe of a person, man. When you walk into a room, it's like when Gula walks into a room, everybody stops and looks.
I guess. So you're just saying like if someone's nice and vibrant and like warm, that can immediately make them more attractive.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Okay.
I think I think it's I think it's gender agnostic, right? I think it's more like, you create that sense of gravity that people want to be around you. I think there's a lot of that, like, hey, even if I'm having a bad day, Gula walks in the room, maybe he's coming in, he's joking, he's loud, and everybody's like, okay, awesome, we can get through this, we can do this, let's have some laughs now. I think it changes the dynamic of a group.
Yeah, it's really hard to have a bad day when he walks in the room and he's like, let's go!
That's a vibe.
That is a vibe.
Usually I walk up and let's go, fuckers! What's going on? Fucking going on in this motherfucker? Why are you all so dreary in here. Let's fucking bring this to it. We're fucking here. We need to be up here. I need you to turn this motherfucking shit up to an 11.
I can't wait until we live within driving distance of each other so I can have you just randomly like kick my door open like, howdy fuckers, let's get up, let's do this, it's Monday, let's go.
Get that Sunday morning.
Yeah, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning golf trip. Let's fucking go, fuckers.
Yeah. But I think that's so. I think, John, I mean, hopefully that kind of answers the question.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no, I'll take it.
That was not at all what he was trying to think of.
But I would say, like, I think if you're positioning specifically to like a woman, what would make you more attractive, not non-sexual? It's kind of hard outside of like a good conversation. I mean, you can look attractive, you can be perceived as a good-looking individual. But, how else would... John, what are you thinking over there?
Well, before I answer, so you're saying, like...
Is this before we open our mouths?
So you're saying, theoretically, you could go up to a 6, like a 5 or a 6, and then you just happen to have, like, a really genuine, nice conversation, and then you walk away possibly seeing them as a 7 or an 8. Am I right? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, like she says she likes Star Wars?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, if that does it if that moves the needle, I mean... Like, oh fuck yeah.
She walks up and she goes, "Son of a bitch, Rick Sanchez, I'm in." And that's it. It's all done.
Drop some Rick and Morty quotes.
What about you, Gula? I know he just skipped me, but I want to go last. What about you, Gula? What's something non-sexual? Like somebody's just like in their regular life, they just do this thing, and you're just like, okay.
I don't know, because I'm such on a higher plane of that situation. It's hard for me to like.
I don't see people in sexual manner. I don't find attraction.
I don't see.
That's
like,
a political
I'm not even
answer.
there.
You're just saying that because Sam.
Yeah.
I wasn't fucking born yesterday.
Come on. You're allowed to have opinions, though. Like in a universe where Sam doesn't exist, you would be Gula on the stroll, and you got to bump into somebody at the supermarket or at UMass, and they just maybe they shuffle some papers in a sexy way. Or they like in
a sexy way.
That's I guess I know John's answer.
That's
such a specific answer there. People are shuffling papers for you.
It's not far off, to be honest. Well, let me answer for you, Gula. All right. So mine, what I was thinking of earlier is I was just I was riding along in the car, and I get like anybody driving by themselves, they get into the music a little bit, and I was shamelessly doing some air guitar and thinking about, and I was listening to. I don't remember what I was listening to, but I was just thinking about like how the shaping of the hand, like the upper hand, whatever you're left-handed or right-handed, the hand that's working the frets on the guitar, on the neck, sometimes you have to contort your hands in certain weird ways to get, the right notes and the right chords. And there's something innately attractive about that to me. And I think there's just something about someone who can like move their fingers around really well. Obviously, I would prefer, and I think that's why I think like if there's a female in the band at all, like a female bassist or a female guitarist, I'm immediately more into the band, because something about that combination of just like the finger work and the talent. And then obviously they're usually very attractive. They're dressed very well. Usually, depending on the band, they got a certain getup. So it's the whole shebang that does it for me. But it's like
I kind of got
just the guitar.
I got a problem with that, John.
Okay.
I got a problem with that, John. You know why I have a problem with that? Because if she's good with her fingers, she's probably gay, and you're not getting her anyway. So she's moving those fingers pretty fast. She's probably knows her way around a fucking.
Okay, so you're saying when it comes to pleasuring you, Sam only uses her fists and her elbows. She doesn't use
in my ass.
She doesn't
in my
use
ass.
her fingers.
Just
ever?
whole fists.
Fists are bust.
What the fuck? It's not an innately gay thing to be good with your fingers. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm gay. Fuck it, I'm gay.
I do think that they're. No, I like the idea. It's something like, super innocent. It's kind of one of those things. It's more like a human being mannerism. more than anything else. So I could see that. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, just something about.
I don't know. I
shredding
like
the
that
guitar.
chick. I don't know who the band is. She's a bassist for that band. They won the Eurovision, I think, like 3-4 years back.
Someone's gonna know. Someone listening.
I can't even remember the name of the band. But she's blonde and she's got like short hair and she's always wearing like nothing on stage.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch Eurovision.
Drop who it is in the comments.
Yeah. Come on, comments, speak up.
Yep, comments. Let us know
Who's
who it
the
is.
chick bassist band thing that Gula? So wait, you like it then? You're admitting that you're into it. A chick bassist.
Oh yeah, this chick's hot, guy. She's hot as fuck, guy.
Okay, I rest my case.
And then she can't. Not only does she move her fingers very well, she comes out butt ass like usually like with nothing on, so you can see her
That does
fucking
help.
her hoo ha, guy. So that's always a good thing.
Addition. I'm not gonna dock points.
I like hoo ha's.
You know. What? So do you have a real answer, or are you going political?
I'm going political, guy.
Jesus H Christ! All right.
What does this have to do with stoicism?
It has
by
nothing.
the way,
It's just an icebreaker. It's just a war. It's just to get the juices flowing. You know,
okay. I have a better one. Do you wear socks at night?
No,
go to bed?
absolutely not.
All right, that's key. You can't do it,
No,
right?
no.
And I know some people
Way too hot.
my wife wears socks when she goes to bed, and it drives me absolutely batty because she says she's always cold. But the point is I'm not fucking. I'm on fire
Yes,
24 hours
especially
a
my
day,
feet.
so it makes me hot.
Yeah, especially and I have undiagnosed, of course, but I believe I have restless leg syndrome. And if you also think you have it or have been diagnosed, you understand what I'm talking about. But it's like this intense vibration you get through your legs and your feet, accompanied by the heat, and the heat can make the vibration worse. So a lot of times I'll just be laying in bed and then I just start like fucking kicking and convulsing. It's just like, it feels like the absence of movement is making my body go crazy and like all my nerves are twitching. And it can be hellish sometimes. And my father had the same thing. I remember like late nights. And we'll get into this probably if we ever do a therapy pod, I'll explain why my parents never had a bedroom door. But my parents didn't have a bedroom door, so I remember late nights sitting on the couch and like hearing rustling, and I like looking over down like toward that side of the room where their doorway was, and seeing his feet, because you could just see the end of the bed. You just see his feet like flailing back and forth and shit. And now I find myself doing the exact same thing and disturbing my wife's slumber.
Yeah, but John, he was fucking your mother.
No. I was aware of when that was happening too, unfortunately. So I did know the difference. It was just the restless legs that time.
A door goes a long way, but all the more reason to raise your own vibration and remain stoic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
I can't do anything about my parents fucking, but what I can do is put earbuds in and not listen.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have earbuds back then. I was about to say that, but I didn't have earbuds back then is what I was trying to say. No, I just had to sit through it while it happened to me. Oh, we're having a mild guest appearance. My son just walked in.
Oh,
I have
nice.
to take a little pausey here. What are you doing, bud? Maybe we'll leave this in. It depends on how it goes. Okay, he just ran off. He left the door open. Excuse me for a sec, gents.
And now we can see you stoic in real life, John.
So the reason for this pod is the whole reason for this pod is to talk about philosophy, stoicism, and all things like that. Let's start with J.A. Parker. What got you into stoicism and the whole Greek philosophy stuff?
I hate to derail you there, Gula, but I had a little thing cooking up. So can we get back to that?
Fuck. You fucked me.
I didn't mean to fuck you, but my son fucked me by coming in. In that moment, he like opened the door and...
We should focus on what we can control, and this certainly isn't one of those scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what I was trying to say is... Now that our icebreaker's done with, we're gonna cut all that out. Well, now that our icebreaker's done with, let's move on to our topic for today. All right. So our topic of the day is duality, the balance of good and evil, specifically within yourself. Sort of that like yin and yang that you have to keep constant control over. And this also, ties into, because I had a long drive earlier, and I had a long drive yesterday as well, which Gula kind of knows a little bit about already. But before I go into this thing, is there anything you guys want to say about the topic?
Oh, I deal with this problem every single day of my life. I am a kind of a person that gets very angry with all of my neurotic situations in my brain. I'm autistic. I'm fucking ADHD. I have OCD. So I get very frustrated, and I find myself, sometimes before I would get very angry about dumb stuff. Like I would have to find just like calm myself down and think about stoicism. Like literally have to think about things that I can control and I can't control, because I feel I have to control everything and I can't control everything. So it would get me so frustrated, so mad. And I find myself now with, not to blow my friend here, J.A. Parker, looking back not only to Savage Compassion, but a lot of the Stoic writers, Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, and a lot of that like thing, and just having to stop myself and be like, wait a minute, I can't control this. It's not going to happen. There's no point in me getting angry and getting me frustrated, because it's going to get me in more hot water. And unfortunately, people like that about me, because I get the times that I do this. It's usually like in a big way. Like it's
Yeah. Quite
I'm
explosive.
I'm up at the Congress. I'm at the legislature. I'm doing this big thing, and somebody will say something to me, and I get really, really, really mad. Especially when it comes to like negotiations or something like that. Somebody will say something, and I have to really, really think about what I'm about to say, because my first inkling is, you're a fucking douchebag, and that doesn't really work in the business sense.
It's true. Well, it's that duality of passion versus discipline. I think is a certainly a big one. I can see that urge to want to go up there and bury someone if you feel like your point is right and you feel like you're more virtuous than the other person. But then it's that balance of like, okay, I also, yes, I am passionate, but I have to have the discipline that I, like somebody like yourself who's a leader. Okay, I want to also make sure that I'm conveying the right point in the right possible way, and it reflects upon the people who you lead and you support. So I totally get it. Where I'd want to go in there and be like, okay, let's cut all their heads off.
Dude, just get in there like fucking Conan the Barbarian and just like start slicing people with a big ass broadsword. But not only that, it kind of handicaps you in those types of scenarios where you're not going to be invited back, right? You're not going to be invited back into the table. So you kind of have to, there is a point in time where you do take out the broadsword and you do slice people up. There are times where that is needed, that passion is needed, but you got to know when to use it and how to use it, or it'll get away from you. And it's that whole thing where you don't want somebody to think that you're off hinged and you don't know what you're talking about, because you really do. You're just passionate about it, and you're letting emotions a little away from you.
Yeah, literally. Okay, I'm so glad you just said all of that. That's I couldn't have had a better response out of that, because that's exactly the meat and potatoes of like the what I'm trying to get into with duality, like that kind of like you're going throughout, like, because what I'm experiencing is from a young age, I think it's a common experience. From a young age, you just consider yourself to be mostly good. And then throughout life, you get these challenges that can sort of distort your perception of yourself to be like, well, I'm bad because this and I'm bad because of that now. And then you sort of look back and you're like, but I thought I was good. So then you're kind of challenged with this, like, how do I keep track of this? How do I make sure it doesn't go unchecked? And how do I kind of keep that duality at bay. And one of the main reasons I picked this as today's topic is because of something I saw just this morning, even because I knew we were doing this, and I was like, we gotta make it something. And then this, I think, just fell in my lap. I was scrolling on TikTok. Sorry, Justin. I was scrolling on TikTok.
Shout out to Justin.
Yeah, and I came across this. It was just a picture of like it was like a statue that was like um for lack of better words, it was like half good, half evil, like a creature. And the caption said, "Transcending duality is realizing God and Satan are the same entity, you."
Yep.
And it didn't have like a dash this person, so it wasn't like exactly a quote. I don't know where it even came from, but I found it really powerful and really relevant to a lot of the things I've been going through lately, which is really just like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes in the world, you know, they say it's a dog eat dog world, and sometimes you got to like have that leather skin and get out there and, you know, bite back a little bit and give that grist. But then, you know, when it all calms down, I can't help but to feel like, is this attempt at survival and this attempt at standing up for myself constantly in these situations in my life, like deteriorating my personality and making me into a version of myself that I don't really like. And you can kind of look back within this pod even and look at how I kind of handle some scenarios. And it's like, sometimes I let that demon come out a little bit. And then there's been other times where, I don't know, I would hope I would hope people would think that there's been times where I've been a good, nice, kind guy. But I'm not going to say that I've been any sort of saint. I'm no Dalai Lama, but
Well, when you listen back to Where's John, you're just a god awful person. That's
yeah.
kind of where
If
we're
you
at
ask
with
what is
Where's
currently
John.
my
According
two
to
best
those
friends,
episodes.
I'm a piece of shit.
To those episodes, you're just a complete piece of shit that hates everyone and hates everything.
But in the sense of duality, we still love you, brother.
So I want to tell you guys a little story here. I'm going to try to sum it up as much as possible. I moved. You guys know that. And when I moved, I've previously talked about, because a sketchy landlord, he was not up to standard, and it was not giving us good feelings, and we thought we were being charged too much for the rent anyway. So we were like, let's just get away from this. And the last final thing is like the deposit, right? And it's a very nerve-wracking experience to deal with this. And so when it came to leaving the house, we put our A game into it. We shampooed the carpets. We cleaned everything out. We did the absolute best we could with the time we had. And state law in Iowa is within the 30 days after moving out, the landlord, and I'm sure this is probably similar within a lot of states, but the landlord has 30 days to send me a letter describing either, if I'm not going to return my full deposit, why it is, with a receipt and explaining what it is they were going to do with that money. And then if it's after the 30 days and the landlord has not reached out, they are required to return the full deposit, because they haven't reached out and said, like, we're doing this or that with their money. So it's like,
good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. It's like a trust thing. So fast forward, we move out, we put our all into it. 35 days later, I send the landlord a text asking about it. He does not reply. I send him a call. He does not answer. And then I call him back again within the same day, and he answers, and he tells me basically to be patient, which I don't understand really, because we're after that 30-day point. You've had 30 days to get in the house, assess what's going on, and then get back to me. So I should be getting my deposit. And he's just keeps kind of stringing me along. And this goes on for multiple days of him stringing me along, telling me I'm not, patient. And he's just got to, which what I don't understand is like, for a deposit, it's supposed to be kind of held aside to be like made repairs on whatever the house is. I'm sorry if this is horribly boring, but I'm going to get to the part where it gets interesting. I promise.
No, I can feel it's leading.
So
I feel like it's leading up here.
As far as I know, the deposit should be held and either returned or used to repair the house. So when I ask him about the money, he says he's waiting on these new possible tenants to pay their rent and deposit so that he can pay me. And I'm like, wow, 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 wow. Like,
Yeah.
what? What are you talking about?
I
Like,
don't
that
think that was
money
the
should have
deal.
been sitting. Yeah. The deal was the money was sitting aside for anything that it should have been used for. And everything I've looked up within Iowa law says that if they spend any of that money, they have to tell me why.
Yep.
And he has done no such thing.
Yep.
And
It's got
what
to be
he
held.
says,
It's got to be held in escrow, John. That's the law. That money cannot be touched by anybody unless he tells the tenant why he's using it and how he's using it, for what he's using it for. Why did he have to take that out of his security deposit to fix whatever you broke or
Yeah.
whatever? But I don't think it should be held in escrow indefinitely until that thing. It sounds like to me that he spent that money
mhm.
and he's relying on the next tenant to pay it forward, to pay
Yeah,
you
cover his
back,
ass.
which is totally illegal.
Yeah, that's essentially like what the banks do with your deposits, right? That's it.
Yeah, but the problem with the bank, the thing with the banks is federally backed up to 250,000. So if they lose you,
Yeah.
say this guy loses his money, guess what? He's fucked. He's got to go to court and
Yes.
all this shit. If the bank loses his money,
Yeah.
guess what? It's federally backed. He gets his money no matter what, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've already established the federal government does not give a flying fuck about John Van Hook. I'm fucking the dirt on the bottom of their
Well, we
shoe.
do now. They do now, John, because we are a business at this point.
Yeah. Now they're interested. Now they want to get their nose in it. But
And,
so
and
okay,
your,
so here's the other thing.
your new address is our business address. So
Yeah. Here's the other thing though about this house is it's owned by a church. And the
Uh-oh.
landlord is just a property manager through a like a realty company. And so he says the money is held by the church. They have the money. And when we moved in, we were told that my rent would be used for their like community meals. So like they would be buying groceries with the rent that I supply them.
you were doing something good, John. You felt good about yourself at that point.
At least I thought I was, but at this point, the church is fucking me over. And he's fucking me over. I'm not sure who's fucking me over more, but I just know that I did everything I could to get my money back. And it's past the 30 days, so the law says I should have my money back. That's all been established. He dicks me around.
Yep.
Come this Friday, he finally gets it rented out, and I get shitty with him through text over time. Not too shitty. Like, I'm not like cussing at him or anything, but I'm being very stern about like the way I word things is very like the last thing I said to him before Friday was like, I'll hear from you Friday, period. It's just like, that's not a question. That's a statement. Like, I'm gonna hear from you because this is ridiculous. So I did hear from him Friday, but it was just a text that said, your check's in an envelope taped to the door of the rental office. So I fucking jumped in my car, zoomed down over there, grabbed the check. Sure enough, it wasn't for the full amount, and he had an itemized list in there. And I knew for a fact one of them was fake because he had car battery removal written in there because I did accidentally leave a car battery behind. But the thing is I drove by because where we moved is not far from where I used to live, and I drove by and saw the new family moving in and loading stuff in the garage. And as I went by, I saw the car battery sitting there on the shelf. So he's charging me for a car trash removal that he never removed. So it's like this guy's scammer head to toe. I find out that the check is not complete, and I, sent him copies of the article that stated that, it was after the 30 days. He had no legal right to any of my deposit, despite what he might have thought. And if he had any problems, he had 30 whole days to let me know about it and then have that assessed. But, he's a lazy piece of shit, in my opinion. And he didn't get to it until he found somebody to take the property. And in the last few days, he finally walked in and assessed the place and, was like, oh, I got to put paint on this and I got to vacuum this floor and yada, 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 which was absolutely ridiculous. And I got to deal with this car battery, which he didn't deal with. all that is like the
One car battery,
the
$5,000.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it was $75. He said he charged to
I
remove
mean,
that thing. Doesn't make any sense.
so John, do you think being out of that situation now would give you, the freedom and creativity to not only make that dollar value back, but hopefully compound and make exponentially more money being in a better situation with you and your family?
Yes, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate the positivity that you're like slowly trying to inject in here, Parker. But but
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not done.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
okay.
not-
Oh, okay.
he's
No,
getting-
I'm just curious, but no, let's keep going.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, and we're gonna circle back to that. But what you're totally right. It should be that. It totally should have been that. And I should have ended with the text because, like I said, I sent him articles saying that he had no right to my deposit. And he sent back one text saying that is correct. That's all he said is that is correct. 3 words.
So he acknowledged it. Yeah.
Acknowledging that he screwed me over and had no right to do what he did and was just lazy and did it how he wanted to do it, essentially. So fast forward again a couple days later, I'm making it's an hour drive and it's in the middle of an ice storm. We just recently had an ice storm come through, and I told Gula about this the other night. I drove an hour to get to my dispensary. It's a horrific drive. It's fine normally, but it's horrific in an ice storm. But I drove all the way there to find out that they were closed due to the ice storm. So
You have ice storms in Arizona?
yeah, it's Iowa. Come on,
okay.
Gula.
All right.
It's getting icy. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
I wanted to
they
bring
were
that
closed.
joke back to the Enlightenment. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you're good. They were closed, and it was obviously very frustrating for me because I was obviously I'm a fiend, and I was more willing to risk my life for for THC products than the people who worked at the store were willing to do to actually come work the store. So I had to have that realization, and then I also had to drive an hour back home with nothing through the ice storm. So with all that frustration boiling over, I was like 10 minutes into my drive, and I just got the horrible idea to call my landlord. And I called him and he didn't pick up, and I called him and he didn't pick up, and I called him and he didn't pick up, and I called him and he picked up. And he said, "Is there something I can do for you, John?" And I absolutely unloaded on him. I gave him the business. I said fuck probably at least 48 times.
Oh boy.
I told him he was a piece of shit. I told him he was lazy. I told him he was a loser. I told him he was a used car salesman. I dressed him up and down about how everything he did was completely illegal. And, I plan on absolutely telling everybody everybody that has ears and could possibly know this guy's name. I'm going to tell him about what they did. Surprisingly, he stayed on the phone. I couldn't believe it. I would have assumed if someone was yelling at me like this, I would have hung up on that person.
I think he's got Savage Compassion as a book.
Maybe he does.
John.
He's probably got it on the
have
shelf
to sign
back
his
there.
copy.
Yeah.
J. Pac's gonna have to sign his copy because he took those lessons to heart right there, boy.
But so yeah, I yelled at this guy. He took it like a man, honestly, until the very end. He actually he took it really well, but then at the very end, he started getting snippy back with me, and he's just like, "You know what? Fuck off." And I was just like, "There it is. That's what I'm looking for. I want the fuck yous."
Oh boy.
Because I was like explicitly like, "You've been way too cordial for someone who's trying to bend me over and fuck me. Like, I want you, if you're gonna fuck me, like, look me in the eye and fuck me. Don't like."
I want it
your
rough,
phone
guy. I want you to
Yeah.
choke me. I want you to hold my hands behind my back, guy.
Exactly. But at least be a man about it. So,
USA, USA, USA.
I got off the phone and I felt better in the moment, at least for a couple hours. I felt good. Like I had some adrenaline. Like, I dressed somebody down, you know what I mean? Like, that guy was totally planning on going about the rest of his life being like, I did that, and we go our separate ways. And I was just like, nope, I want to let you know that you upset somebody. Like if you're having a cool Saturday just chilling at your house, I'm going to fucking call and scream at you and ruin it the best I can, because I feel like he's ruined many days of mine worrying about this deposit and whatnot. So with the duality thing coming in here, here's where I'm going to let you guys talk.
Oh, thanks,
With
John.
the duality thing coming in, it's the next day, and I still feel angry about it. It's all said and done. I have the money, not all of it, most of it, I guess, but I could have really used all of it. And I just have to move on. He basically told me to my face, yes, I fucked you and you had to take it. And I'm still just very angry, and I feel myself like wanting to do the most like mafia-esque things to this guy. But I'm also trying to rein it in and be like, you don't do those things. You know what I mean? You're not a crazy person. You don't go bashing in windows. You don't go hurting people. You know what I mean? And vengeance is, it's always it's an uphill battle, and it's a losing game.
Well, I think I'm gonna let J.E. Parker talk about this one. I think he's the most
Equipped.
He's the one that wrote the book, and he has more insight in this. Me personally, I'd have burnt his fucking house down. But that's me. That's my duality. When somebody, I'm ghetto, as people don't know by now, I'm pretty fucking ghetto. Things like that really piss me off, because I know you're right. He's told you you're right, but the problem is you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. Now you have to take him to court, right? And that's gonna eat up time, more money, just
energy, your resources,
everything that is gonna happen going forward with all of this shit is totally gonna be just a fucked up situation. So the best thing for you would be to just be like, move on. Take the L. Well, it's not an L.
Turn the other cheek.
Taking half of an L. But I'm gonna let I want to hear what Mr. Park has to say.
Well, I like, Gula, I think you're more than on the right path, right? The idea is just, yes, you could perceive it as being a complete L, but realistically, what was the life lesson that was gained out of this experience? And
don't trust the church.
I think don't trust the church.
Amen. Amen to that, Gula.
I think one of the main tenets in Stoicism, right, is focusing what's within your control. So, yes, did you lose a monetary piece of compensation out of this? Absolutely. But, did you gain the virtue of, the knowledge, the understanding that came from it? So maybe the next time that you and your family get into some sort of financial contract, then maybe you're only willing to sign something with terms and conditions that you agree upon. Maybe you focus on, the resilience earned out of this and what was learned overall, because yes, obviously we don't want to continue to repeat the same sins of the past over and over and over again. However, it's something that we know, and if you can frame this situation as, the financial compensation that I lost, what I've learned has just 10x'd my own mindset, then you're absolutely fine. If anything, you're a better human being right now than you were when you made that phone call.
That's a really interesting take, considering how much I told him he was a piece of shit. I told him to burn in hell.
But it's that duality, right? It's just, okay, well, yes, maybe there was money lost, but at the end of the day, if you knew that everything you did was virtuous and everything that you did was of the utmost positive mindset that you could have put yourself in, and within everything that was within your power, then you really have nothing to be upset with. You have nothing to, you said what you felt like you needed to say in that moment. However, maybe it's just a scenario where now, whether it be mortgages, whether it be different leases or apartments or things like that, now you have this other weapon in your arsenal to make sure that you and your family don't face something like this again. And it's just reminding yourself that, okay, that piece was outside of what you could control. However, now you've been able to do that. I always use that reference, that 10x of who you are beyond that scenario, that now you can help others. And maybe the financial compensation you lost, if you help 15, 20, 50 people avoid that scenario just through this podcast, okay, then cool. Then everybody else keeps their money. you inherently have the kind of good deed, the positivity and the karma heading your way just from explaining to other people, avoid that pitfall.
God damn, he's fucking good.
Yeah, and I think he's hit the nail on the head with this one. And you kind of alluded to it too. I'm going to tell everybody about this situation. Now, if he's a real prominent business realtor in that area, and he does a lot of business in that area, you could potentially, ruin a lot of his sales and not necessarily get your money back by that way, but you could help other people by not getting them to be in the spot. Also, fuck that guy. He deserves to lose money, and the only time bad publicity is good for a business is I feel is in the movie industry, or like in the entertainment industries. The residential
That
housing situation where you are the face, when that reputation is tarnished, it follows you all the way through, because people have those bad experiences with you, and you lose 10 times as much money on that situation than anything else. So you got to write an op-ed in the paper,
Yeah.
local paper, about this guy and your experience with this guy, and just badmouth the shit out of him.
I'm not gonna lie, I definitely have considered.
Maybe doing that or writing that down or getting that out to other people might make you feel a lot better about your situation.
Yeah. And something, of course, Parker, your answer, phenomenal. And something you said in there,
thank you, brother.
Absolutely is like the centerpiece. It's the cornucopia of stoicism, which is what can you control? And when I think about my rage that has been bubbling towards this person, and what I have, whether legal or not, what I have available as options for how, what route to take. A certain quote from somebody that I know both of us have a certain affinity towards. A certain quote rings in my mind, kind of makes me step down a little bit and brings me back to earth and gives me that perspective that I really need to not act on angry impulses. And that quote is, my mercy. Well, it's a quote from a guy. It's like Michael Scott quoting Wayne Gretzky. It's not the same thing, but it's
it looks great on a whiteboard, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the quote is my mercy prevails over my wrath, which I'm almost positive is a Bible quote, but I've more famously, I should say, heard it said by Rick Grimes when he made the ultimate decision in the show to spare Negan. He laid under that tree after slicing the man's throat and then telling somebody to come stitch him up. He laid there with blood all over him, his fucking leg all fucked up. And I think he got shot too or something. He was fucked up after that match, but he laid under that tree in the broken stained glass thing that he sliced his throat with. And he said, my mercy prevails over my wrath, which is
so iconic.
It's just something that everybody should keep on the forefront of their brain. It really is just like, it's almost like another iteration of with great power comes great responsibility. And not everybody can maybe think that they have great power, but understanding what you're capable of is a really, really important thing when it comes to that thought process, because you might not think that you have great power, but your actions have consequences, and the littlest thing could, have ripples upon the people around you. So, when it comes to this guy and the revenge I want to take on him, I got to let my mercy prevail over my wrath, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think simultaneously, another piece to, and I say this in whatever form that you or the audience takes, I think I've said this in Savage Compassion, even when it comes to stoicism, specifically in a business sense. I think there should be some form of meditation that you take on. There should be some form of reflection every single either morning or night. I mean, before I'm falling asleep, I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking of, the day's kind of processes and procedures and my interactions with everyone. And I'll even think about us recording this pod here. And, was I the truest version of myself? Was I someone who I wanted to, lead with empathy first, and was I someone that I'm proud to be? It's like the memento mori, where you're kind of like, hey, the only thing guaranteed in life here is that we're going to die. So, if I got pancaked on the ride home today, will everyone remember me in the fashion that I want them to remember me? So, that's kind of one of those things, John, to think about. It's like, how much power do you want others to have over you? If you can't manipulate their actions and what they say and what they do, then you can manipulate your own actions, and you can make sure that you're being perceived the way you're going to be perceived. And hey, the other part too to think about is like that scenario played out exactly as it needed to be, in the sense of how the universe had it, and then maybe it's just a learning lesson for you.
Gula, you started to get into something a little bit earlier that's going to be cut out at this point, but I'm going to let you get back into it now. You kind of wanted to talk about our introductions to Stoicism.
Yeah. I've always been a fan of Greek mythology, and that whole genre of the thing, mostly with Greek gods. I think when I was a kid, I loved listening to all of that. So that from a very young age, I feel like that was like one of my favorite things. It's just like listening to people that I think that not. The weird thing about it is just like it's so old, right? It's so this is so old, and it's that old adage, I would say, that so nothing was made up at this point, right? Whatever you said kind of was like the word of the day, I would say, or the any invention at that point was the invention, right? Like we didn't back then. It was over 3,000 years ago. So whatever they said, whatever thing. But I think with Stoicism, it's like timeless, right? It's a very timeless situation. The way that they thought about the world around them kind of was it just goes through the time. It goes through time, right? If you take Marcus Aurelius, right, he talks about God, but he doesn't talk about God in a normal, like, when you think about God, everybody just goes to the Bible and goes to that type of thing, but they didn't have that type of stuff right at that point, right? So he was talking in a general sense of being aware of a higher power, but yet, being general with that situation, generalizing it in a way that is just goes through time. Like you can open up that book and quotes from him, and it kind of like you'd be like, wait a minute, I could use this like right now. It's kind of temporary.
And John had mentioned that earlier. I think that, to your point, Gula, Meditations was written as just journals. It was never even meant to be distributed. And people always say like, well, how come Marcus Aurelius didn't write more books? It's like, well, no, he died of the plague writing the end of his journals, which was Meditations.
Yeah.
It was never meant for anyone else. It was a way for him, in that sense of duality, like we're talking about today. It was for him to stay grounded as the Roman emperor.
Yeah.
Right. It was just, look, here's what's guaranteed. You're going to die.
Yep.
Right. That's it. Here's how you still stay a good human being. Here's how you take care of your people. Here's how you just control your mindset, focus, and not worry about all these things that are way outside of what you can control. Live within the concepts of nature and what is going around here. But yeah, you're absolutely right, though. You read it right now and it's like, okay, I can apply this to work today.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what became Savage Compassion, right? It's a shameless plug.
Hey everyone, Savage Compassion. Yeah. Go pick it up today at Amazon.
Smash that like and subscribe.
Yeah, does this count as one of our ad runs?
No. That was just like a beautiful segue, though.
Rats.
But I think one thing I like that Gula had said too is, I think we all kind of grew up with like cool movies like Troy and Gladiator and all those different things. So it's like you were immersed with the culture at one point in time, right?
Yeah. So like the things that drove me to these old Greek philosophers was more like Homer. Like I love the Odyssey. Like I love that that story of, him, battling this stuff and pissing off the gods, and then them fucking making him journey throughout this whole thing and never being able to make it home. It kind of just felt very, earthly, but then it felt fiction at the same time. So it kind of, you could see this happening, but not in the way that they said it. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like the Bible. Like, I take things from the Bible that, hey, this, I could think of it this way, but if you take it literally, then you're all screwed up. I think that's the problem with people today, is they take these things that are written fucking 5,000 years old, and they take it literally. Like, I mean, we got to understand, these people didn't have YouTube and Hulu and all this other stuff. We're trying to, nowadays, we're trying to take all of that stuff. Oh, it was so great. It was so great. No shit. I mean, all you had to do is wake up and go farm or do something. Like, you didn't have to really do much. What I'm trying to say is, everything that you did back then was groundbreaking. It was very easy to, like, make something of yourself, even though, like, you didn't have any skills. Like, town criers and, storytellers and stuff were very, very much in the Greek culture. The arts were very much in that kind of thing. They felt that the arts and politically were as big as anything else in that time, right? So they knew that a civilization that had no, like, imaginary spark, that way of thinking, there was no way to keep that civilization going without it. They had to have it. It was intricate.
Yeah, like a rule book almost.
Yeah, that's what I see lacking in today's world, is like, you can't.
Well, that's kind of the problem I've always had with, like, I've never been big on Christianity, but I think I was always able to derive, even from a very young age, that, like, the presence of the Bible, like you're saying, is, like, not to be taken so literally. It's almost like a formulaic storytelling way of giving you examples of how to treat people, how to not treat people. And it's like all the lessons are there and it's very clear. But the reason I never really clung on to it like most people do with Christianity, is just because, like, not only do I not need this weird faith to be reminded that I need to be a good person, like, I don't need to be scared into it. And I think it's a good format, you know what I mean? Like, all these things they're saying, like, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, don't kill. Yeah, it's all great, but I don't need all this other lore in and out, like Lord of the Rings type shit about fucking people being killed, nailed to the cross, and, like, all these miracles and whatnot that I know is been bastardized, rewritten, misinterpreted. It's just, you take all that noise out, and I can somewhat appreciate the Bible for what it is like a book of morality. It's an attempt at a book of morality. But I think the Stoics got it way,
I always
better.
say this about religion. It's a good idea until you start taking it too seriously. You gotta, it's a good idea until humans put their spin on it for some apparent reason. Like,
and when you involve money and rental properties.
Yeah, there could have been a person named Jesus, and he could have walked around, and he could have done all the things that, not turn water into wine, but he could have done things that were at the time seemed like a miracle. But for some reason, as humans, we take these things too literally sometimes, and then it gets us in trouble. It just totally gets us sidetracked about the mindset that we should be in. Thou shalt not kill. And then we take that and we go, well, he didn't really mean that. He meant, murder and stuff like that. But if you're justified like huge wars and killing in the name of Jeeves, you're all good because you're doing it for the good. You're doing a bad thing for a good reason. And I think that too many people take a lot of this stuff, a lot of these the stoicism and just well way of thinking, and they corrupt it into their own situation where they try to justify it. And I think that's where religion and a lot of these things people go wrong, is they're taking it too literally.
I think part of the reason why we've seen such a massive resurgence of stoicism over the last 5-10 years, and especially like shout out to people like Ryan Holiday and Daily Stoic that have made it their entire brand, I think is because people are no longer feeling like institutionalized religion is getting them that sense of value anymore, or that sense of purpose. So I think for me personally was Seneca, Letters from a Stoic, and the copy that I have over here is pretty beaten up and highlighted and a lot of those different things. And, to quote Seneca, it's not that the life that we have is too short. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. So, we're wasting the time that we have. And I think a lot of that gets muddied up with what we believe is institutionalized religion. And I think, yes, a lot of the tenets are there of, we shouldn't be killing people and you should, take care of your neighbor and all that fun stuff, I think is there. But I think most of it is morally and for the most part, spiritually bankrupt. And I think there is a big difference between, you could be a spiritual person and you don't have to be a religious person. But I think at the end of the day, it's more back to these Stoic tenets of how do you want to put your head on your pillow at the end of the day. That's kind of the biggest part. So yes, I would say for anyone who is not finding value in that kind of institutionalized religion, I think if you lean towards Stoicism, whether it be Seneca or Marcus Aurelius or even Ryan Holiday, and that, I mean, his podcast is awesome. So I think if you lean towards those different things, I think you'll find real world value in modern society that will help you in any facet. If you're a student, if you're starting out your career, if you're years into your career, or maybe you're doing a B2B business or something like that, where you're trying to take a step out and make something of yourself, or trading crypto, or it doesn't even matter, whatever else you're doing, but you feel like you're missing that morality, you're missing that level of spirituality, and you want to grow yourself and you want to grow those around you. I mean, Stoicism is an incredible place to start.
You talking, John?
Yeah.
You're getting it in. You're all.
It's a lot to absorb. Yeah, it's a lot to absorb.
It really is, and I love Ryan Holiday. I love all of it. I love how closely he works with Robert Greene. Anytime I see Robert Greene pop up on my phone, I stop and jaw open. And it's gotten that way sort of with Ryan Holiday as well, because I like you said, I follow the Daily Stoic because of you, and lots of good stuff. And it's good to another thing that Marcus Aurelius hammered home. It's good to have that stuff just littered throughout your life, because you can hear these things once or twice. But one of the things that Marcus did is he would write sort of the same lesson in a different context multiple times throughout his journals. And a lot of the times he acknowledged that was just a way to remind himself to keep it in his personality and keep it in his brain. That constant,
agreed,
different ways to say to live in the moment, different ways to say that, don't let things get to you and kind of let the water flow over you. The amount of analogies he makes with water and rocks and rivers, it's what keeps me going throughout the day, honestly, because I constantly, every time I'm faced with not like a hardship, but looking down the barrel of what I assume is going to be a hardship, those are the moments I have to stop and be like, you have to be the rock that the waves crash over. And that saying has helped me phenomenally.
I like that a lot. I think there's a lot of times in life where, not to get spiritual or religious in any certain way, but as far as Stoicism goes, I think life is almost inherently designed where you're going to be up against the same situations over and over and over again until you learn the lesson, or until you learn how to beat the lesson. And then at that point, the next opportunity presents itself. So it's just, I think for those who are looking for, hey, I just want the perfect life. I never want to deal with any adversity or any challenges, anything else like that. That's not the purpose. I think the purpose is to put yourself in those situations so you learn the lesson. And if you don't learn the lesson, then you have to repeat the challenge over and over and over again. It's like a video game where, when you beat that level, then okay, perfect. You go to the next level, but none of it's meant to be easy. I think that's the purpose.
Unless you got cheat codes.
Unless you got cheat codes. That's it.
Unless you got the cheat code of life, and none of us do. I haven't seen any of us yet get the cheat code of life. I think that's something with me. I talk about being autistic and all of this stuff, and I feel those moments are my favorite. Like, people hate that stuff, but that adversity kind of makes me stronger, and I like doing that. Like, people are like, oh, why would you talk to bring it contemporary. I don't want to bring politics into this situation, but like, why do you talk? So many people have told me, why do you talk to Trump supporters and like and I'm not talking like the conservative Republican. I'm talking like the hardcore, like the hardcore people that you couldn't.
Yeah, like, I'm not even into politics. I'm just into Trump.
Yeah, it's not. They don't bring any answers to the conversation. They're not bringing, well, what is this going to do for this type of policy? They're not interested in any of that. It's just like banging your head against the thing. But I feel, to me, what it brings to me, what the lessons I can learn, even though I'm never going to get through to them, it's just it's another level for me, right? It's another way to learn how to talk to people and have the tough conversation. It's not, life is not all about the easy outs. It's always about when the tough conversations, the tough stuff. Those are when you're gonna learn the most. So I feel, not to bring politics into things, I like those conversations. Going up to somebody's door that I know is totally gonna tell me to go fuck myself, probably pull a gun out on me, and then I've had that happen. By the way, I've had that happen, to fuck off my porch and pull a gun on me. But that's besides the point. Having that conversation with that person to the point where I didn't get shot is a good fucking day, right? And I walked away with that and knowing a little bit more about how to deal with that situation.
Yeah, I think the goal should be find common ground. I think there's certainly more that connects us than divides us. But the idea should be, I think globally, the moment that we start seeing other people as self and treating other people as self, I think that's where you really see the turn. And obviously Stoicism has a lot of those elements in there too. But yeah, you could walk up to that person's door, right? And also, in the same scenario like we had talked about with John, like, yes, you could tell them go fuck themselves, but it's just, okay, no one's going to get anywhere with it, right? So you go there, you try to, maybe you're talking about the weather. I don't know. Maybe you're talking about how much you like chicken wings. It's just, you'll find like how inherently people are like, oh yeah, shit, I like that too.
What about What about guns? I like guns.
Yeah, guns are cool.
Guns are cool. Yeah. I like guns.
Yes, you're saying instead of immediately going for the like, you're Trump and I'm not, you're Kamala and I'm not, you're going for like, where's the common ground?
Exactly. Yeah.
Where are we both?
And I think all politics are local too, so you can take that and even though I might be Democrat, you might be Republican, we all want clean water. We all want our kids to go to a good school. We all want people to thrive.
Absolutely.
We want businesses to thrive. We want, people.
We all want the drones to leave New Jersey.
No, they're in Massachusetts last night. They were in Boston last night.
Oh, shit.
That's wild.
The mothership's coming down.
All right. Well, so not to put you on the spot here, Parker, but since you are like the Stoicism, you're a true Enlightenman. You're the Stoicism guru amongst the three of us. And we have not decided on what our closeout for the Enlightenment should
wait a
be.
minute.
So,
wait 1 second. Before you do that, I want to do one more thing to tie it. Not to tie it into the Wannabeez, because this is going to be a Wannabeez on the Wannabeez feed. But I thought this was interesting, and I found this. We're talking about
fuck me. How could I forget?
Yeah, we're talking about stoicism,
What are we gonna
and
sing?
it's not really. He's not really a philosopher, but he's in that genre of people that Pythagorean theorem. You know that
Oh,
guy.
the Pythagorean theorem.
Yes, that guy. He was a mathematician. He was also a Stoic too, but he mainly
A squared plus B squared equals
you
C
got
squared.
you got it. He was a mathematician. He kind of knew. He was the father of algebra, basically. And I found this fact very funny. He was deathly afraid of bees. The
That's wild.
dude, he literally would
Oh,
lose
okay.
his
So
mind
A
over
square
bees. Like, he
plus
didn't
A square plus B square equals B scared.
be scared. It was abnormal, the amount of fear. I'm talking, like they said, he would just like lock up, and everything in his whole body would just lock up if he seen a bee. He had this like weird fear of bees.
He would just freeze. Would he fall over like a goat, or would he just
Yeah, he would
freeze
just
in
like
place?
just freeze and just be like all his functions from what the article that I was reading, the thing on this, he would literally lock up and like not be able to talk and move, or like he would just
Do you
lock
know
up.
his name, or are we just calling him Pythagorean theorem guy?
The Pythagorean theorem guy. I don't know what his real name is.
Okay.
His name is
Well, I think
Pythagorean.
it's something like that.
That's his name. I mean,
That's what
Well,
he's up
that
to.
was awesome. It's like a philosophy fact, philosophy mathematician, and B fact.
that's it.
You nailed it.
Cool. So
I love that's a
back
solid
to
one.
back to what you would think to close out.
Yeah. So, Parker, if you had to pick, you're gonna craft our closing, our outro. What's the outro line? What would you say? It's a very stoic line for the enlightened men.
I love it. I love it. And no, thank you, brother. I would say this for the enlightened men, and this is not from Savage Compassion, but this is something else I had put together today that I thought would be impactful. Life is neither too short nor too long. It's exactly as we make it through our focus, actions, and discipline. True strength comes from controlling what we can focus on, find meaning even in adversity, aligning our actions with purpose and freedom, and maximizing our potential by creating both value for others and then helping them with enlightenment. Enlightenment lies in balancing wisdom, resilience, and relentless execution so that we live a life not wasted, but full of intention and impact.
Woo!
Bam!
Well, it's a little bit longer than Be Cool Buzz Buzz, but I'll take it. It's awesome.
I love it.
Until next time, enlightened men.
In a world of darkness, why don't you be more enlightened?
Peace.
Oh, that's perfect.